Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to discuss how to prepare polity for civil service examination. The polity is a subject which most of the candidates start their preparation with. Why? Because they consider this subject to be very easy, but actually it is not. It's a very subtle subject. It has a lot of nuances. You need to understand how to prepare it comprehensively, how to score the maximum possible marks in both prelims and mains. Polity is the subject which you need to prepare thoroughly. Why? Because it is one of the core subjects of your UPSC civil service preparation. There are 5 core subjects of UPSC civil service preparation. That's polity, number 1, 2, history, number 3, environment, geography, and 4 is economy, and number 5 is science and tech. These 5 subjects you need to prepare it comprehensively. Why? Because on these 5 subjects you will find questions in both prelims and main. Rest of the subjects like internal security or world history, etc., are generally asked in mains, not in prelims. Polity preparation is also required because 13 to 18 questions from polity are asked in prelims. I can give you the year-wise breakup where you will find 13 to 18 questions are there. Then in mains, you will find 8 to 10 questions in GS paper 2. Again, I am giving you the year-wise breakup where you will find that 8 to 10 questions in GS paper 2 are asked. Besides, polity is relevant because if you understand polity well, then only you will be able to understand the subject of governance. Because there are many concepts like corruption, charter, accountability, transparency, etc., that you will be able to understand if you understand polity. Then polity is essential to understand certain concepts of ethics also. For example, concept of rights, duties, or the concept of secularism or unity or the concept of integrity and so on. Then from polity, sometimes a essay is also asked in your paper. For example, there could be essay on judicial review or secularism or on constitutionalism and so on. Then in interview also, you will be asked the questions from polity. Whether you have the subjects associated with polity as your optional like law, political science or public administration or not. Because interview will assume that you have read the subject of polity and you do understand the silent concepts of it. That's why whether your optional is political science or sociology or geography, you could be asked the questions on suppose separation of power, judicial activism, or on secularism, reservation, and so on. That's why the comprehensive understanding of the subject of polity with conceptual clarities, analytical abilities, and critical thinking is at most necessary. So without polity, you can't sail through this examination, right? Now, from where you should prepare the polity? See, there are NCERTs from 6th to 10th of polity. I can show you of 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. These NCERTs are of little help to you. Why little help? Because these NCERT gives you basic idea about democracy, secularism, or rights, duties, etc. But it does not cover the topics of polity like president or Supreme Court or Council of Ministers, Attorney General, and so on. But there is one NCERT of class 11th, that is Indian Constitution at Work, which deals with the topics of your syllabus of polity. Here you will find chapters of president or PM, Council of Ministers, or Parliament, state legislature, judiciary, etc. That's why you should refer Indian Constitution at Work, the NCERT. But is that enough for your preparation? No. Because it will just give you basic understanding, basic familiarity with the various topics of polity. Right? For holistically preparing the polity subject, you need to refer the Bible of polity, that is M. Lakshmikant. The M. Lakshmikant polity books is referred by almost every candidate. But the candidates do the mistake of considering Lakshmikant as the sole or exclusive reference for their polity preparation. See, Lakshmikant is a good book, but it's not a perfect book. Why not perfect? Because it is written from prelims perspective. It will make you prepare for prelims, not for mains. Why? Because it does not have the content related to mains. For example, it will give you data or information regarding union and its territory. There it will tell you how the states are created, but it will not tell you why the states were created on the basis of language, or what was the benefits of language based state creation, or what are the detrimental effects of linguistic based state creation, on what factors we should create the states, and so on. Similarly, it will give you data about president, how president is elected or impeached or term, and so on. But it will not give you the data regarding why we have, or why do we need to have the office of president in our political administrative system. What's the role of president in our political administrative system? That is not there. Similarly, every chapter is being written for prelims perspective. Also, it does not have many important chapters. For example, the chapter on separation of power is not there in polity. The chapter on the office of profit, the parliamentary secretaries, on reservation, etc. are not there in M. Lakshmikant. The third, it does not give you the logical reasoning behind the various provisions of constitution. For example, it does not tell you why the bills lapse on dissolution of Lok Sabha, or it does not tell you why the member get disqualified for holding dual membership of the House. It does not give you the reason why president take a separate oath of protection of constitution than other constitutional functionaries, and so on. And without these logical reasoning, you can't remember the polity topics, or you can't remember the provisions of constitution, right? Fourth, it does not give you any linkage with current affairs, right? For example, recently the governor has delayed the assent to the bills for which Supreme Court has given its verdict. President has made 14 reference to the Supreme Court, and so on. So these current affair linkages you will not find in Lakshmikant. Fifth, it will not give you any examples for various concepts of polity. That's why it may be a possibility that you may not have understood the concept with utmost conceptual clarity, right? So that's why the polity preparation is not enough with M. Lakshmikant. Clear? Then there are other NCERTs also, like of class 11, political science, political theory. That should be referred if you are preparing political science optional. Okay, and if you are preparing for GS, then it's your personal choice whether to read this NCERT or not. Then there is one more NCERT, that is contemporary world politics, and there is NCERT for politics in India since independence. These NCERT is basically for world history and post-independent history respectively. It is not meant for your polity, right? So that's why you could skip these two NCERTs. So now what should be approach of your polity preparation? First, you need to aim 100% accuracy in prelims. So whatever question is coming from polity, you need to mark it correct. Because I've told you, polity is the core subject of UPSC civil service preparation. And if you do not prepare polity well and you are not able to answer all the questions correct, then you may lose the game. Because one question wrong in polity will slide you by 3,000 ranks in prelim, right? And around 12,000 candidates are selected for mains. So 3 or 4 questions of polity goes wrong, you are out of the race. That's why you need to make sure 100% accuracy is there. Because your competitors are preparing the polity holistically, comprehensively, seriously. That's why if your question goes wrong, but it is certain that your competitor's answer will go right. That's why do not make any mistake of going any answer wrong in polity. In mains also, whatever the question is being asked in polity, you need to answer it well. You need to answer it in such a manner that you got highest possible mark. And also in interview, you need to give answers on polity questions with utmost clarity. So then how will you achieve this 100% accuracy in prelims and the highest possible marks in mains? By writing well structured, well presented, well contented polity answer. The answer lies in RRP strategy, that is reading, revising, and practicing, right? You need to read, I've told you, the class 11th NCERT and M. Lakshmikant along with current affairs, all right, and the additional content for mains, etc. You need to revise the subject at least 4 times. Here, the candidates do the mistake. They just read the Lakshmikant for once and they start believing that they have prepared the subject. No, my friend. Never believe that you have prepared the subject for UPSC until you have read it 4 times. At least 4 times in a month, not in a year. In a month, you have to read the subject to make sure that such subject get prepared holistically. Right? Then you need to practice the prelims questions and mains questions from each chapter of polity, right? Along with the prelims previous year questions and also the mains previous year questions. How will you do it? How will you do reading, revising, and practicing? For that, you need to do, I've told you, 4 readings in a month. First reading should be for basic understanding. For this, you will keep pencil in your hand. You will keep pencil in your hand and you will just underline the words of the chapter that you are reading which you do not understood, and underline them and find the meaning of them in Google or in dictionary or in ChatGPT or you through teachers, right, or your mentors or your guide. Clear? In second reading, have pen in your hand or highlighter in your hand and then underline the keywords. Underline the keywords. Keywords should be underlined or highlighted in a manner that by reading those keywords only you are able to revise the whole chapter, right? The approach in the second reading should be to correlate with chapters because all of the polity chapters are correlated, right? Correlated. You need to understand the correlation between the them. For example, the correlation between president, PM, council of ministers, governor, vice president, and so on. The correlation between the ordinary bill, constitutional amendment bill, the money bill, finance bill, and so on. The correlation between parliamentary privilege, devices of parliamentary proceedings, the legislative procedure, and the presiding officers, and so on. So every chapter is linked with other. You need to understand the interlinkages between them. And such second reading you should do on weekend, right? In third reading, you should correlate the chapters with other subjects. That you should do on month end, right? Like you should correlate the chapter of budget of polity with the budgeting that you read in economy, or the historical evolution of constitution you could correlate with the modern history, the political developments in modern history, right? That correlation you should do in third reading. Also, while reading in second, third reading, you should correlate with current affairs while reading newspapers and so on, right? So for example, if president rule is imposed in any state, or the Supreme Court verdict came on any PIL being filed, and so on, you should correlate with whatever you have read in polity, right? But do remember, I've told you, do not assume that by reading Lakshmikant you get prepared for polity. You need to prepare the mains content, the chapters that are missing in Lakshmikant, the linkage with current affairs, the logical reasoning, the examples, and so on. For that, you could seek help of ChatGPT, you could seek help of Google, or some question banks or exam materials are available in market, or you can seek help of your mentor or guide in the form of your senior or your elder brother or sister, or any topper you are in contact with, or you can seek the help of your teacher, right? But the point is, you should prepare the polity under the guidance of your mentor, your guide, your teacher, right? He or she could be anybody, because only then you will be able to understand, you will be able to cover each and every nuance or requirement of the subject. Clear? Then you need to practice prelims questions and mains questions. You need to practice both previous year prelims and mains questions, and also some additional prelims and mains practice questions. So how you should do it? Whatever chapter you are reading, you should practice It's prelims and mains question, right? At least 20 to 50 questions of each chapter you should practice of prelims. At least one mains question of that particular chapter you should practice, right? And such prelims question practice you could do after second reading, and the mains question practice you can do after third reading, right? That's how you should practice. Clear? And in the second video, I will give you the kind of questions asked in prelims and mains from polity, and also the syllabus breakup of polity. So that's all for this video. I wish you happy learning. Thank you very much.